I'd like to ask you to answer a few of those questions and have the listeners share a bit of your musical life. Um, how did you get into the music business in the first place, Jim?
Well, first I want to say you surprised me. I had no idea that I would have a chance to see you down here at Bad Ischl, Austria, but it's a pleasure. And getting into my music, I first started in the music business with my dad. He played 5-string banjo back in the early days, and then I got hooked up with him in the early days. I was about 9 years old, and I started playing dances with him and singing the songs and learning the songs that other artists in that area was singing and recording on radio.
You played in his band?
Oh yeah.
You played the guitar?
Yeah, I played the guitar and he played, well, it wasn't exactly a band. Back there in the 30s, you considered a band when you had 3-piece band.
Yeah.
And he played the banjo and we had a fiddle player and I had the guitar, so we played like that.
What did it sound like? Did it sound like bluegrass or old-time music? Or what
Old-time music. It was traditional old-time music. A
Well,
little corny, I thought. No, he played Earl Scruggs style, surprisingly.
Oh.
He played 3-finger roll on the banjo, but he did the old-time songs, you know, that we feature today, you know.
What year was that?
well, I was actually 9 years old. It was 1930, 31, 32.
Yeah.
And I started with him. He had a regular guitar player, and for some unknown reason he quit, and I was just learning to play at that particular time. And his guitar player didn't show up one night, and he asked me to play with him.
That's good.
Because it was pretty hard. But I'd been with him on the dances and hadn't had an opportunity to play with him, but I knew primarily what he could do, so I just followed him.
Yeah.
And as you play with the musicians, the more you play, the more you learn. So that's the way I did that.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for a long time, up until 39, and I went into it professionally at a local radio station there in my hometown, and the manager offered me a job to do a Saturday night jamboree with different groups there.
As an announcer or?
No, as a singer. He did the announcing. You know, he was the master of ceremonies on the whole program, but he would pick up local groups in that area, and there were all good groups in for a radius of 50 or 60 miles around there, and he would have this jamboree recorded on the radio live, and he invited me to sing, so I would use different groups, you know, different musicians out of the show to back me up to sing. And later on, my dad, he came up and he was one of the features too, so we got going pretty good there.
And when you were featured on the radio station as Jim Eanes, did you play your own songs or did you play traditional songs?
No, I didn't have any songs then. I hadn't written any songs. I was just starting out singing everybody else's songs. You know, some of the popular stars from Nashville and around, and who I listened to on radio, and if I liked a song, I would learn it from the radio program and sing it. But actually, I didn't start writing songs until 1947. But during that year of 1939, I was very fortunate to be able to guest on a very popular entertainer out of Roanoke, Virginia, which was 60 miles away, by the name of Roy Hall. And he had a group called the Blue Ridge Entertainers that he played live radio programs, and he offered me a job, and I went to work with him. And I was with him until his untimely death, and I learned a lot that way. So that was my first professional job. And singing with his brother, and then singing solos and stuff like that.
You recorded with him?
No, he had already recorded. He was recording for Blue Ridge Bluebird Record Company, which was a subsidiary of RCA in the 30s. You know, that was the very popular record label that he was on, along with the Monroe brothers, Charlie and Bill, and others. And he had already recorded. And during the war, the war broke out in 41, and he didn't get a chance to go back into the studio, and then later on he got killed in a car wreck. So, but he recorded a lot of good songs, and I learned a lot from him. He gave me a lot of experience in the music business, and that kind of got me started to keep going.
You still got songs from that time in your repertoire?
Yes, and I've recorded some of his songs that he recorded actually.
Yeah.
Later on in the early '51, 10 years later, I formed the band Shenandoah Valley Boys, and then I recorded a couple of the songs that he had recorded in the early days.
Could you mention one of those that's
Don't
still
Let Your
available?
Sweet Love Die.
Oh yeah, maybe
That
we
was
can
a
play
very-
that on the radio.
Oh sure.
It's a good song.
I recorded it later on for Blue Ridge Record Company, which was the second recording company that I recorded for. I recorded in 1947 well, it was actually the third. In 1947, I was working out of Knoxville, Tennessee with a group called the Blue Mountain Boys, and we had an offer to come to New York and record some sessions for National Record Company, and I did a couple of songs. Well, I did more than that, but they only released a couple of songs.
Yeah.
And then later on, in 1949, after I left Knoxville and went back home, then I won a Capitol Record contract out of Charlotte, and I had written Baby Blue Eyes at that time.
Oh yeah, that's a good song.
And I recorded that one plus Better Wake Up, and it did real good, and they wanted me to come to California and record some more sessions. And
Capitol.
yeah, they released another record, and I only had a year contract with them, so so it was very, very promising for me. And then later on, the year before that, I went to Nashville and went to work with Bill Monroe, the Bluegrass Boys, so I learned a lot from him.
Yeah. How long did you play with Bill Monroe?
I worked about 9 months. Well, actually, before I went with Bill, Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs had left Bill and formed the Foggy Mountain Boys, and he called me, and I went to work with Lester and Earl formally before I went with Bill. I had worked with Lester and Earl for about 5 weeks, and then Bill sent me a telegram, and I went to work with Bill and left the Foggy Mountain Boys and went in to work with Bill about 9 months, and I came back in and went to Hollywood, went out to Hollywood to try to do something, but I finally had to get me a job, you know, singing at a club in order to support myself.
Yeah.
So I stayed out there for about 9 months, and then I left and I came back home, and my dad was ill at that time, and I wanted to be close to him. So Clyde Moody was working out of a town down in Danville, Virginia, and he was going to Shreveport, Louisiana to work, and he called me and told me to come down, and I went to work there, and I formed the Shenandoah Valley Boys then, and that's where I started in the '51. So that's when I had a chance to record "Don't Let Your Sweet Love Die" and a lot of the songs that Roy Hall taught me while I was working with them.
That was the firm after Capitol.
Yeah, that was the label after. There was a local label out of North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, and the first song I recorded for that company was a war song called "Missing in Action," and it really sold. It sold about 400,000 copies, which was tremendous at that particular era of music, and one of the biggest songs that I ever had. And it surprised me, and then that's when I signed with Decca Record Company and went to work with Eanes.
That song is still available, I think.
Oh, it's still available, yeah. Around the record, they reissued a lot of those old songs that I did for Blue Ridge Record Company on the Rounder label, Volume 4 of Early Days of Bluegrass.
Yeah. And that was a sort of bluegrass sound, and then you signed a Decca contract, and that was sort of 50s country sound?
Yeah, they wanted me to do bluegrass, and they also wanted me to do country, so I mixed it up. And he said, well, if you can do that, do it.
Yeah.
So they thought I was doing bluegrass, you know. And this was this war song was kind of a country flavored song, but it was done bluegrass actually. Well, bluegrass wasn't even in existence. It was called hillbilly music then.
Yeah.
And back then you could do anything. You know, you could sing a song and you could call it anything you wanted to, but primarily it was hillbilly.
Yeah.
And I was very fortunate because I could sing the country songs as well as singing the bluegrass, and I just mixed it up.
Yeah.
That's the way they did it. I stayed with them about 4 years.
Yeah.